Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott, and as always, I'm joined today by my wonderful co-host, Zach Ingo Finch. How you doing, Zach?
Yeah, all right, mate. I was hoping that the weekend's game will actually not be terrible, but it's really hard.
Well, yeah, it's match preview time. We're coming in pre-presser because the press conference is today as you're listening. So we're clutching at straws. It looks like the game is going to be.
We're not going to talk about the funny story that led to that, where both of us waited for ages to record because we're expecting the press conference to come out on the Thursday. And so sat there waiting, going, oh, have they had it? I think they've had it. Why are they not having it? We've been absolutely sided instead. That's not the press conference, before realising that when they said 1:30, they tweeted it like 2-3 hours and they had literally said tomorrow. So that shows you how well we're doing today.
Well, look, let's talk about Sunday. It's on track, I read earlier, to be the lowest attended game at St Mary's in the last 15 years. Are we surprised about that in the slightest?
Who could be surprised by that? Like, it's one of those things where who wants to watch us play? It's not only that, it's like the pricing and the whole culture of, oh, well, you should go and support the boys through thick and thin. And I'm like, bro, they're not even turning up for their 70k a week job. Like, I can't, I'm not paying a ton of money to go, and like on top of that, I think you summed it up. You were talking about it. I thought we talked about it separately, where it's like, historically, the FA Cup and the Cups are good times to take kids to football, and usually being midweek or if it is at the weekend, it's like a good time to go, right? When you're charging like 20-30 quid, and then even if the kids tickets are cheaper, you still need to pay for an adult ticket to take a kid there. So like you're looking like 30-40 quid, 50 quid, and then you've got like food and
60 quid.
Yeah,
is how it worked out.
And it's to play Swansea during absolutely awful form. And like, it's very much like we are the cash cow that keeps giving. And I saw a couple of opinions on this, and one of which being, for example, like, oh, it would be good. We should go. We've got to help out the club, this and the other. And it's like, oh, well, no, this really hits them where it hurts. It's like, no, because do you know who it hurts the most? The players. And I'm like,
yeah,
mate, like, this is their job. They're going to turn up either way. Like, there's going to be supporters there either way. But like, trying to, I think, have a go at people that do not want to spend ridiculous amounts of money after watching us get so far the lowest points record. And like the last time we played the stage at FA Cup, as we alluded to last episode, we were knocked out by Grimsby. So, although we have a very, very good track record against Swansea, it seems like it could really be, in my opinion, either a nail in the coffin for some players that have played the last year or so, or alternatively, it could result in the entire lineup for the next Premier League game completely shifting, and that's what is exciting about it.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna chastise anyone or make anyone feel bad for not wanting to pay to go and watch.
Yeah, well, I'll put it out there. I'm not going to St Mary's on Sunday. I'm going to be watching from the comfort of my own home on BBC Wales. I don't want to pay that money to go and be disappointed. And also, a contributing factor to that decision is a 4:30 kickoff on a Sunday is just not convenient. The money's not convenient. It's just not feeling it. And I think our opinion does differ, though, that you said that it won't affect the players, but I think it will. I mean, when you go out and you play football in front of people, that extra adrenaline, you hear it a lot referred to as the 12th man, is a big thing. And it'll be really interesting to see how they cope without it, because it's going to be abundantly clear as soon as they step out onto the pitch how they have, what's happened to the club in the last 6 months and to the fans to make them feel this way. Like, if you think back to the thousands of people clamouring for tickets to get to Wembley, and the tickets for the post-Wembley party that sort of went in minutes, you're probably going to have less Saints fans attending this game than attended that party. So it is going to have an impact on the players.
Yeah,
sure.
But in the sense of like it should be absolutely no surprise as to why. Like one of the things that we don't really have in English football is like, I guess anymore, is like this concept of ultras, right? Was it the season after the season we were in the championship when Lyon were doing really bad? And we're watching like Maitland-Niles and like Gillette Carr, and then like the mascot for Lyon getting absolutely torn apart by ultras with sort of megaphones in the stand. And we're, I think, far too polite as a football club and a fan base to do that anyway. Like the Martin Out thing, was a banner at the end of the day. It was more that the absolute mood turned sour. But like maybe not having a bunch of people there will give them like. I'm hoping it results in a reaction. I don't think it's going to affect them in the sense of like they'll still be able to play the game. Like they managed to do. Everyone managed to weirdly adapt during COVID, right? But it's for me like they are paid ultimately to do a job, and that job does not automatically entail support. And that's
I
that's
know.
what I find.
I
That's what I
think
find
that when
weird.
you think about it of them as like as humans, like what they do is physically taxing and has a mental strain. And when you're looking for someone to put their all in, that support is what pushes and aids that mentality to get through that physical wall to go and be better. And that's not going to be there. And that is going to be a shock to the system. They're suddenly going to be playing in front of the smallest amount of people. It's going to be bizarre.
Well, I hope that is an experience that like they can see and learn from. I think is where I'm at.
I
Like
agree.
you cannot.
I hope it doesn't too negatively impact the actual game. But you're
Yeah.
right. I hope that it galvanizes them.
As a fan base, we are I think sometimes a bit too kind. And like I say that as somebody that it's not really, I say that as somebody that's quite calm and collected in most interactions I have with human beings and how I come across sometimes on the podcast. But like you've been with me to football, Greg. It's different sort of. I become almost a different person in many ways. Like I'm not saying I'm screaming abuse at the players and stuff, but you do start to get infuriated when they're not getting the ball up the pitch and bits and pieces like that. And it's just kind of like this 12th man is something that is assumed should be your job as a fan. And it's like, okay, but then surely there needs to be some like give and take in the sense of we should expect some form of entertainment and not just sheer misery. And then also when it's not
Hopefully it's a
like we're doing
wake-up
it
call.
for free. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So you're right. I probably was wrong in the sense it's not going to affect the players. But what I mean is that the thing that should be motivating them first and foremost is the fact that it's their job. And like I know that from the fact that a lot of them put out in the media is how much their personal ambitions do not lie at this club. And like I hope that, maybe missing that support, they suddenly realise, oh, maybe, I should have taken for granted playing in a team where even, where I was being clapped when we were even like 4-0 down after 20 minutes, But we're all going to have different opinions on it. It's just, it'll be interesting to see what happens, I guess.
It will. It's going to be a weird game, if nothing else. And that could go either way. It could make it a much more cagey affair, or it could really push them on to go and absolutely hammer opposition that really we should be absolutely hammering, truth be told, based on form. Which really feels like a proper Saints banana skin, though, doesn't it? Right?
2-1 Grimsby Town, mate.
Look, at least there's no inflatable fish or inflatable swans involved in the build up to this game. Let's be grateful for that. Okay, so we're going to have the unenviable task of doing a predicted 11 and seeing if we can work out what's going to happen after a message from our partners at Zencaster. So here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencaster came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencaster. Okay, let's give this predicted lineup a go. I don't know if we want to approach this as how we think it will line up or what we want to see lined up. How do you feel about it, Zach?
It's going to be difficult either way, and it's going to be who's not injured and who's coming back from injury, and maybe it'll be a chance for. I think it'll be maybe fringe players, but I think it's going to be a chance for him to test out fringe players that he actually wants in the team. So,
is that a waste though? Like, shouldn't we, as a team low in confidence, be looking to gain as much confidence as possible by learning how to win?
How many points have we got this season, mate?
Yeah. All right.
I think he's going to be trying to figure out which players he could do something with out of the ones that he thinks will be left by the end of January. Okay. Because obviously we haven't. This isn't Transfer Tuesday, but we've already got a incoming, which is exciting. And there are already.
We did talk about him on Transfer Tuesday. To be fair, it was an expected incoming.
So there are obviously lots of rumours of outgoings. So it's where we go. We go from there.
Right, how do you see the back lining up? Do we stick with this 5 back, or do you think we swap to a 4?
I think he wanted to. I think if you want to take the game to them, I think we should potentially go with a 4. And I think we've seen that it's a clean slate for a lot of players. You could probably see Charlie Taylor in there. I think that you'll probably see Bella Kotchap finally get a game, because I know that they keep talking about that in the media. I know there's been conversations with him, and since the new managers come in, I don't really know how the rest of the defence lines up. I don't think that, you probably...
Stevens come back? Oh, he's out injured now for a while, isn't he?
He's out injured for... till it's a contract.
Probably, yeah.
Which wouldn't surprise me if he decided to duck out at that point.
So what do you think? Bella Kotchap and Wood, or Bella Kotchap and Harwood Bellis? Or has Bednarek's been the sort of de facto captain?
I think Bednarek and Bella Kotchap, and give Taylor Harwood Bellis and Wood a little bit of a rest. Okay. I think Taylor Harwood Bellis, you can see him getting more and more cross. You can see him being more mistake prone as the emotions of consistently losing over and over and over is taking its toll. So I would give him a rest, quite frankly. Who do we see on the right? That's difficult, because it's like we've got an abundance of right back, funnily enough. Will we pay Carl Walker-Peters in potentially one of his final games for Saints in his actual natural position? Or will we shove a Sugawara / Bree?
I think we probably stick Sugawara there. I think Carl Walker-Peters gets rested, which will be a shame.
Yeah, because he could just be resting him up for another team at this point, because things move fast. So yeah, I'd say Sugawara or Bree. So that is your back 4. And then, do you reckon Downs is back? We don't really know until tomorrow, or do you reckon we go with this like weird hodgepodge midfield we keep trying?
Not sure. I don't even know who the answer to midfield is. I don't know if it exists in the club.
Well, I think he's a big fan of Ugochukwu, and I think there's definitely going to have to be some commitment to us playing him if we're going to keep him for his loan spell. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up playing.
Yeah.
I don't think that Chelsea are that bothered about him being cup-tied either. So I would be surprised if he ends up playing.
Yeah.
I imagine Joe Aribo, because once again, who else have we got?
Yeah.
Flynn Downs, if he's in, surely.
Yeah, Matty Fernandez should be back from suspension as well.
Yeah, so in fact, the only real changes we're seeing in defence, maybe Ryan Fraser gets a game. There you go. That's something different and exciting.
The only change, I think if Downs is fit, he probably gets in over Aribo in that lineup. I think Matty Fernandez will be playing for sure. And then what do you think up top? I think, do we stick with Torpal, or are we trying something different? Do we finally get this combination we've been wanting for the longest time with Cameron Archer and Torpal?
Yeah,
with Tyler Diblin sort of sat behind?
Or they pass, maybe swap out Tyler Dibbling for Armstrong. I won't be surprised if he puts him on. I think we'll probably want to rest 18-year-old Starlet for his transfer out. I jest, but come on.
Yeah. But no, you're right. I think Diblin probably gets rested.
I think Paul needs a goal before
Fraser,
he potentially goes. Maybe
who else
Fraser's not. I don't really know what's happened to him. He kind of disappeared off the face of the earth, right? He had that one bad game, which realistically wasn't the worst I've ever seen anyone perform in a Saint shirt. I think he had probably had a worse game, if I remember rightly, at Bournemouth than he did anywhere else. In comparison to the Leicester game, he just got unlucky and sent off, despite the fact that 5 minutes previously Leicester had done the same thing. But hey ho, we're not bitter about things. Again, not like I mentioned the handball at Watford however many years ago that apparently I'm still mad about for some reason. We don't hold grudges here. So yeah, like maybe
do you think
maybe
we see Burton Diaz, or do you think he's
he's off to Sheffield United, isn't he? There's no. I feel like at this point, like it suits everybody. I remember I was having a conversation with a guy on like the YouTube comments about it, because he was like, "Oh, we'd happily take him back." I'm like, "Yeah, we'd probably happily send him." Like we've never really played him in his natural position, but with the confidence that he's got and the absolute lack of anything so far, do we want to waste another 90 minutes putting him in striker position? Are we going to play youth at any point? That feels like Sam Amu's never going to get.
Yeah, he's been in the squad in and around cup games in the past, so it's definitely not an outlandish shout.
It's one of the weird thing, I guess, for me about Jurek coming in is part of him coming in and part of the discussion that like was around it with the announcement and stuff was that we like their commitment to carry on the academy and like playing youth and stuff, and subsequently still just seems to be dibbling. It's kind of hoping it'll be interesting to see if the new bloke from France and like Wellington, when he's actually not injured, if they get in and around the first team, or if it is just one of those things where we will, we haven't got any sort of idea. But this is the other thing, is that I wouldn't be surprised if he's trying out what he's got, simply because I imagine he will get at least one or two potentially sanctioned transfers, right? I don't feel like you can have a new manager come in and you say zero budget at all. Like, I know that he's used to working with sort of relegation teams and this and the other, but if he's coming into a squad that he knows have resources, if we get an outgoing, I imagine we'll see some sort of incoming, even if it's absolutely uninspired and not something we care about. So with that in mind...
We've made 2 signings this transfer window already. What more do you want?
One of which was a pre-contract agreement from like a year or two ago, where the guys probably signed up, turned up, was like, "How's the Premier?" Oh,
all right, okay, yeah, I think you're right. I think we'll see some fringe players. Maybe Adam Lallana gets some minutes, but I wouldn't see him starting. Maybe he'll come on.
Well, also, we've not had the presser yet, so we don't know if Aribo actually had a proper injury or not, because obviously he went off early last game.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the other thing, is that, like, what do you do? What do you do at that point? Do we start shoehorning people into various different positions that they don't know how to play in? It's something we do quite a lot now. Again, philosophy is killing football. If you didn't tune into Wildcard Wednesday, you should. Greg absolutely destroys the idea that we should be building around a specific philosophy of football, and I was here for every minute of it and enjoyed every minute of
it. Sentiments shared by Matt Letizia a day later as well, so just inspiring the good causes.
Yeah, sure.
Right, well, moving swiftly on, we're going to come back with some score predictions after a message from our partners at the Global Sports Podcast Network.
The Global Sports Podcast Network is changing the face of football podcasting with dedicated daily content for every Premier League team, women's football, fantasy football, and a daily Premier League wrap-up broadcasted in 5 different languages. This is your one-stop shop for your daily football fix. Find GSPN wherever you find your usual podcasts.
All right, let's get to it. Score predictions. Bear in mind, Pompey beat this lot 4-0 last week.
Well, then
how are we doing?
Right, let's go 5-0, because like I just can't live in a world where Portsmouth are beating teams higher than us when they're essentially going to go straight back down to League One. We're probably going straight down we're definitely into the Championship, but yeah, like why not? And like to be fair, like historically, we always seem to sort of win against Swansea, which is why you're right. It has the potential to be a massive banana skin. The last time we lost to them was 2017. Admittedly, we've only played them 5 times since then, but 4 of those were wins, and one of those was a draw. And to be fair, we don't really usually score a massive amount of goals against them. It's usually sort of 2-3 or
last year. Boxing Day 2020.
Apart from Boxing Day last year as well, and obviously it is the would have been the Russell Martin derby, right? So I feel like there would have been more emotion and more ability to fire up. So, but I think Jurek needs something
there's a chance
under his belt, right?
Do you think there's a chance that they rotate as well? Like,
well, how are they?
Old league, they got a lot of fixtures coming up.
Yeah, the thing is like they're mid-table. They've had draw, loss, win, loss. So they've been a bit all over the place. I don't really know hugely what they're fighting for. It's not like, potentially playoffs, but that kind of seems a bit far fetched. So I don't know. Maybe after getting battered by Pompey, they want to I don't know, put the sword to a Premier League side would be good for the confidence. So yeah, I don't really know how they would set up, but I feel like you need to react after having a loss like that. And obviously they managed a result, but it's got to be
worth bearing in mind that next week on Saturday, early kickoff, they've got the derby against Cardiff as well.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where do you want to come into that game with the flying high confidence of beating a Premier League team? And that's kind of where my brain's. It's the same thing with you
Premier
saying,
League team that potentially is there for the beating as well, right?
If you smell blood in the water, well, everyone does when they play us at the moment, right? Like everyone we've had on the podcast for sort of crossover episodes, it's been sort of, oh, well, maybe I'll give Southampton a little bit more respect and, we'll go 2-1. And then there's some people that have just been brazen, been like 3-0 and end up being 5-0, a la Brentford. So, everyone can smell beating us in the water. And if you're a Swansea team that, wants to kind of get in a really high confidence performance just before you have your derby, beating a Premier League team would be good. And again, we will slip up in situations like this, but I think the best thing for Jurek and the team would to be go out and kill them with confidence and actually get a win in front of the crowd or not. Like, it shouldn't be. If they want people to be in seats come the rest of the home games, you put in a performance like that, all of a sudden somebody goes, well, maybe next week will be better, and they turn up. Right? Like, it's also the
kills you.
The hope that kills you is the tagline of both my podcast and your podcast and my life, mate. So it's an extremely apt part of being a Southampton fan, I think. But for me, as you said, do you put out the best 11 instead of rotating? I think we don't have a best 11. So that's why I think we'll rotate, is it gives him a chance to see people that he hasn't risked putting into a league game. But I think that we need to do something to have a moment this season that isn't utterly depressing, because they keep being ways to find new lows, right? Like, that Spurs game was somehow worse than the 9-0s, and I think that the Spurs game followed by that 5-0 loss to Brentford are actually worse than both of the 9-0s combined. Like, we had reactions to them. Weirdly, with one of the 9-0s, as I always like to laugh about, Leicester bought half of the defending team that let those goals in. That's not, and also there were red cards and bits and pieces, so there were reasons for it. Whereas just down in tools is against a team who had not won away from home this season. It's just mate, really? Is that where we're at now? So I think we need a reaction. I think that this is the perfect time to show it. And I'd just like to think that maybe even from a personal perspective, if they don't care about the fate of the club anymore, right? Surely, if you're I want to be put in the shop window, you need to put in some performances to be put in the shop window. They're not just going to buy you off the back of if not, they're all going to get championship suitors at best. And if that's what they want, then happy days. But just for a sake of pride, they need to do something. And I think that maybe with a bit of rotation, there'll be players that are out to prove themselves. Maybe I've been wrong about Bella Chapel this time. Maybe he's going to come in, put in a solid performance. We'll have him for half a season. He'll do better and then leave on good accord. I'm kind of at the point where I'm fine with it now. Brentford's really killed whatever part of me was still even, I'm not remotely hopeful, but and so yeah, I think it's an insane score prediction at 5-0, considering we've barely scored any goals, but also they need to do something, and this is a perfect opportunity to do it in low risk, where the expectations are nothing, right? The expectations are zero. But I will also point out that we conceded quite a few against Cardiff at the beginning of the season when we played in the Carabao Cup, so it's not like it's always going to be plain sailing. And that was, yeah. How do you feel, mate? What is your... So, yeah, there you go. My crazy prediction, 5-0.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like I have to stay on brand and I can't be less optimistic than that. So...
it's sheerly out of the fact that Pompey scored 4.
It's a heart v head situation. Head says 2-1 because a clean sheet is too optimistic. But heart says 9-0. Why not? Let's turn the tables. Or go one better and 10-0. That'd be great.
My heart, by the way, although my heart, as you know, is 5-0. If you want my actual proper prediction that I covered up, it's we scrape by with a 1-0 win that is really, really bad.
In a really boring, terrible game.
Boring, terrible game where he notices one or two players that he wants to put in the Premier League team that we next play. And then the next game we have, as long as it's not 5-0, happy days. It's only what's our next couple of games? Manchester United, Newcastle.
Yeah.
That's fine. We might beat Man U, to be fair.
At Old Trafford, yeah. Feels like they're there for the taking. That might be our points. All right, well, that's maybe as positive as we can muster to finish on, if we're honest. So,
my apologies.
On the lingering hope of optimism that remains, we will wrap it up there. You've been listening to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. Thank you very much for listening. Zach, as always, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much, mate.
Give us a follow on all the socials, YouTube, X, Blue Sky, Twitter, that is X, that's fine. TikTok is what I mean. All of them. We post loads. Drop your score predictions in the comments, let us know. Are you feeling more or less optimistic than us? I feel like I might know the answer. But let us know. Thank you very much, and we will see you on Monday to discuss how we got on.
Woo!
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.